start out this morning with just a little bit of gratitude. I feel incredibly fortunate to work for this organization. And that really starts with our ownership group, with Mel Raines.
Executives are rushing to renegotiate contracts due to record-breaking television ratings. The Caitlin Clark Show, sold-out arenas extending from Indianapolis to enemy territory, and a league going through a renaissance that appeared unthinkable just 2 years ago. Products are flying off the shelves. The numbers of social media involvement blow away all expectations. Young ladies with aspirations of becoming the next generation of talent arrive at games wearing number 22 jerseys. However, the smiles are beginning to disappear behind the curtain in Indiana, behind the well-prepared press releases and the staged media appearances. The front office of the squad and the general manager of the Fever's firebrand are at odds. A battle so fierce that it could destroy everything this group has fought to achieve. And for their rookie superstar, everything is about to change. It's possible that a rival player from 1,000 miles away, whose name has unexpectedly become a rallying cry, lit the fire for this explosion. Caitlin Clark's shoulders were under strain beyond anything the league has ever seen, starting when her name was called during the WNBA draft. This was not the usual experience of a novice. The learning curve, the grace to make mistakes, and the period of gradual adjustment. No, such amenities were not available to Caitlin Clark. She wasn't merely a newbie. Before she even entered a professional court, she was declared a savior. For years, the Indiana Fever had been mired in mediocrity, unable to establish themselves, losing supporters, and watching in despair as other teams developed championship contenders. Next up was Clark, the phenomenon from Iowa who had captured college basketball's attention. The shooter with the defenders draped over her was able to lift up from the logo. The playmaker, who seems to transcend the laws of physics with his passes. Everyone was aware that she was a box office success. However, the standards extended beyond Indianapolis. She was required by the entire WNBA. She was required by television executives to defend their expenditures. She was required by sponsors to certify their collaborations. In a manner that even the best players before her had not quite accomplished, the league office needed her to be the face that could at last make it into mainstream America. She was supposed to lead a faltering team and bear the weight of an entire league at the same time. Every game turned into a must-win, not only for the scoreboard but also for ratings, significance, and credibility. The entire globe watched Clark play. The naysayers jumped in when she faltered. When she was successful, there was a lot of acclaim, but it was accompanied by a disclaimer. What have you been up to lately? The 40 minutes of game time are not the only period that such strain is present. It permeates every aspect of the company, corrupting relationships, raising excessive expectations, and cultivating an atmosphere that is sure to eventually break. General Manager Lynn Dunn, who was entrusted with assembling the club around this generational potential, began to display those fissures. As a decades-long women's basketball veteran, Dunn had a perspective that the front office's business-minded executives might not have had. Talent on its own wouldn't suffice. She had previously seen it. The physical demands of the game, companies that neglected to safeguard their investments, and cultures that valued appearance over performance all contributed to the shortening or destruction of brilliant players' careers. Dunn became increasingly alarmed as the season went on and Caitlin Clark continued to take hits. She witnessed her star player being knocked down by uncalled, cheap shots. She saw two aggressive plays that went beyond tough basketball to something more sinister. Plays that appeared to be intended to harm Clark, to frighten her, to make her reconsider driving to the basket or posting up, rather than to stop her. The decisive moment occurred during a particularly vicious run of games in which Clark was singled out with an intensity and regularity that were too great to be explained by chance. Yes, her opponents were testing her, but they also had a message for her. Your highlight clips, ratings, and buzz are irrelevant to us. You're going to have to work hard to gain respect out here. That's when Lynn Dunn went public. She publicly questioned the officiating in social media posts and post-game interviews. She criticized the vicious aggression used at her best player. She insisted that the league office act to shield all players, not just Clark, from the kind of risky activity that has grown more frequent. She had a clear message. Enough is enough. Insiders say this was the first obvious indication of a significant division within the company, despite some fans and analysts viewing it as a GM boldly defending her asset. Dunn desired combat. In order to demonstrate to Caitlin Clark and the rest of the roster that their leadership had their backs, she needed to create enough noise to compel the league to act. However, it was said that the front office was extremely anxious about the perception this gave off. They were worried about upsetting other teams, coming seen as whiners, and damaging the positive narrative that Clark's presence had sparked. Dunn's frustration moved inward at that point because he was unable to find a fulfilling outlet outside of himself. Here comes Sophie Cunningham, the Phoenix Mercury's tough-as-nails guard. With a 6-1 record and a style of play that emphasizes aggressiveness, fierce defense, and a complete refusal to back down, Sophie has never been one to back down from a fight. She has been outspoken against the league's physicality, arguing that aggressive play and hard fouls are ingrained in basketball. More than that, though, she stands for something that is becoming less and less common in the current game. Sophie Cunningham is a real enforcer who plays with a protective instinct and old-school grit that are reminiscent of a bygone age of basketball. She sometimes physically retaliates when one of her teammates is struck. She imposes consequences on those who attack her stars. She installs screens that crush bones. She uses insulting language that irritates her opponent. She commits technical fouls while protecting the honor of her teammates. To put it briefly, she is the type of player who communicates. You answer to all of us if you pursue one of us. Sophie Cunningham's style of play became a stark, almost painful reminder of everything Indiana wasn't offering as rival teams persisted in targeting Caitlin Clark with impunity. The disparity grew more apparent each time an opponent delivered a hard foul with no repercussions, or each time Clark was thrown down and no Fever player defended her. Sophie was the culture setter who had the power to completely alter the dynamic, the enforcer they lacked, and the protector they sorely needed. However, that was not the entire tale. Lynn Dunn was aware of it. Getting a single difficult player wasn't the only goal here. This involved a complete change in corporate culture from the top down and a fundamental shift in mindset. The actual battle lines were being drawn there. The purported explosion took place during a meeting that would determine the franchise's future course, behind closed doors and away from cameras and reporters. According to a number of sources, Lynn Dunn reportedly lost it during what was meant to be a standard strategy meeting with front desk personnel. The team's performance, impending roster decisions, and long-term strategy were the topics of the meeting. Dunn, however, arrived ready for a different type of discussion. She had gathered injury reports, video footage, and a thorough examination of the physical abuse Caitlin Clark had experienced. She had data comparing Clark's number of uncalled fouls to those of other elite players. She possessed information about the team's inability to react to physical threats. Witnesses claim that Dunn began calmly enough and systematically made her case. Her annoyance, however, grew as the front office executives resisted, claiming PR issues, league ties, and the significance of upholding a positive image. The executives wished to resolve the matter amicably and through the appropriate channels without creating any commotion. They discussed stakeholder interactions and brand management in business terms. Dunn allegedly lost her temper at that point. According to reports, she pounded her hands so hard on the conference room table that the coffee cups rattled and the room became silent. She demanded to know the true plan to safeguard their generational potential in a voice that was trembling with rage and anguish. Not the PR plan, not the marketing strategy, but the real on-court plan to ensure that Caitlin Clark could play the game she was meant to play, without fearing for her physical safety. Dunn is said to have called Sophie Cunningham's name in this moment of utter annoyance. Crucially, though, she wasn't advocating that they sign guys like Cunningham or make a trade for him, even if that might have been in her long-term plans. Rather, she was using Sophie as a model for the mindset that she thought the entire company needed to embrace right away. She allegedly pointed to a video of Cunningham standing up for a teammate and shouted, "Why can't we be like that? Why are we unable to exhibit such loyalty and backbone? While we grin for the cameras and worry about what people will say, why are we allowing our franchise player to be brutalized?" Dunn was worn out and upset that the team was thought to be weak. She believed that the front office wasn't paying enough attention to Clark's physical condition because they were too preoccupied with TV ratings and jersey sales to recognize the personal cost of their top player being singled out. She believed that they ran the risk of losing everything they had worked so hard to achieve by delaying solving this issue. Although neither side gave in at the end of the discussion, the damage had already been done. It was now hard to overlook the philosophical difference that had been boiling beneath the surface. A basic difference on Caitlin Clark's job is at the core of this organizational civil war, not only on the court but also in the larger basketball community. This dispute mirrors broader conflicts in sports, such as those between tradition and modernity, between the entertainment value and purity of basketball, and between winning titles and establishing brands. The front office, which is primarily composed of business people with experience in business development, media, and marketing, has a particular perspective on Caitlin Clark. She is the stunning scorer who has the ability to sell jerseys and seats. Her highlight tapes go viral on social media in a matter of minutes, making her a sensation. She is the face that may be seen at business events, on national television programs, and in significant marketing campaigns. She is the ideal representative for a league looking to expand its audience since she is tidy, marketable, and driven.